I'd like to introduce Andrew Bird, who is school principal for 2 more days at Moody Thai School, where he's been principal for the last 15 years. He starts next term at Calburn Normal School, which is an interesting title, isn't it? Maybe that we can have that conversation a bit later. He is the Wolf Fisher Fellowship recipient for 2016 and has just got back from 10 weeks overseas, reflecting and researching and observing in schools. So welcome, Andrew. Where are you? Oh, hello.
Kia ora koutou. Yes, I might look a little bit relaxed. I apologise for that. I've just been on holiday for 11 weeks. But I guess I'm really here because I am a school principal, but I'm also the father to Max, who has auditory processing disorder and is a Oars-funded student. So I'm kind of wedged between in both worlds, really. I want to firstly acknowledge the tremendous advocacy of parents of children with needs for a better education framework. It is inspirational as a principal, and I know that it's just a huge battle. I know as a parent, it's a huge battle from birth as you build the world for your children that they are going into, and the battles that you have along the way to make sure that they can be the best that they can be. So for most of us, we're committed to growing adults, both as educators and parents, growing adults who can be as independent as they can. And I think what is crucial for the kids is the hope and aspirations that the parents never give up. Any parent never gives up to receive the adapted education that best suits the learning, behavioural and social needs for the kids to be part of the community that they live in. I've been in education for a few years now, and there's a sheer ongoing frustration, I guess, as a leader with this aspect of New Zealand education. Been in the system for over 20 years. It really is difficult to see much advancement in the issue from where I first started. I do acknowledge the huge amount of goodwill of the professionals that are present in working with kids with special needs within schools and the community that they are around them. But it is a big issue for schools, but there seems to be little resolution or progress. People still experience the things that many experienced a long time ago, and the variety of kids' experience is not healthy, and in certain respects it's not something we should be proud of. But when it's looked at kind of at a national or a constructive level, it does feel like it's a little bit of lip service. You feel that the people with the power, I've got to be careful here because I'm employed by the government, but you feel that the people with the power, the people that make decisions, are just not really that interested. It does feel like it's a bit of a problem, and it's a really hard problem, and really the status quo is okay. And I guess the group in front of me here are people that are advocating for change, for something that's a little bit better, which leads me to the concept of leadership. And leadership is about creating an environment which is a bit better than it was before. And that is the measure of success in my view. I'll just turn the page. I just want to put on record from the school principal perspective. I want to reiterate the inadequate funding applied to children with disabilities to successfully work within the school environment. They are put into an environment with some funding, they need more funding, and the only level of funding that they can receive is within the operational grant. Therefore, they're pitted against a whole lot of other kids with needs as well. So it becomes a dogfight in those board meetings about how you can allocate the funding to best meet the needs of the kids. Some kids have higher needs than other kids, and therefore they need higher levels of funding. But some people think there should be a notion of equity of funding, and it's just a battle because there's a whole lot of kids in schools with needs. Muratai, for example, we track 100 kids out of 400 with learning needs or so on. We've just got our operational funding thing for next year, and somehow the ministry, with no contact to our school, has designated that we have 26 children. So how they work that out, I have no idea. But I wouldn't say they used a rich level of data or evidence or whatever. Anyway, what it does is it equates I have to be really careful because it's probably out there. But it does equate to, before we've even started our budgeting process, we're $15,000 less before we budget for next year. And the only I've got to be careful because I've got to go to time, but the only movable thing that you have in a school budget is staffing. So if you've got $15,000 less now, somebody's got to go. And that's the stark reality that school principals and boards of trustees, the competition between children, which should never happen in a society like New Zealand.
That's great.
So at least my next point, I just remember a few years ago we had this thing introduced called national standards. Now the thing which was trumpeted around for national standards against principals and educators who are against it was there was somebody who is prominent that we all know was saying, I want 5 out of 5. And we were saying, but hang on, 5 out of 5, it's really aspirational, really difficult to achieve. I want 5 out of 5. And we all agree with that. We want 5 out of 5 kids to succeed at school, but there's a whole lot of other stuff that goes with that. What is the measure of success? And the measure of success is that conversation between the school and the family about the progress that those kids are making. This is where we are, this is where we're going to, this is where we're going to go to beyond that. It's not about 5 out of 5 being the same. So you would say that to get 5 out of 5 reaching their potential requires an investment and a skill set that enables doing everything to make each child grow to be able to do the things that they can do. Just being there is not a success measure. It used to be, that was the challenge, to get kids, all kids, into school. We've now met that measure, but now we know we can achieve a whole lot more for all our kids. Another key issue in education is the working conditions and the high stress environment within the para-professional community that works alongside schools, between children and between schools. That is a highly stressed, underfunded, I just could go on about the wonderful people that walk in, but they're spending most of their time in their cars between schools, travelling round and about, dealing with this. The turnover's really high for us in terms of delivery. It's often a different person every single time. It's a key area of advancement for children with special needs, but it's one which is fraught with lack of funding, lack of support. It's okay because we've got them, but in terms of delivery aspect, it's not as successful as it could be. So it's also hard for schools. We know that funding allocation, you get a teacher for 29 children, and if you're not providing support for the children around that, then it is a stressful environment as well. To provide individual attention or adaptations requires a high level of skill and expertise, and we rely heavily on that paraprofessional community to provide that difference. I also want to acknowledge the richness that a diverse learning community offers all the children of New Zealand. This provides all our kids the best learning that they can have, and understanding and accepting difference and proudly walking in other shoes. I just want to mention that Murasai played a prominent private school today at rugby, our next door neighbours, and we won 30 points to 7. But why I'm allowed to say this on this particular day is because we had a kid with cerebral palsy playing in the front row. No doubt there'll be an email tomorrow. As a principal, one of the endearing things that you see is the way that the children accept and support children with needs who are part of their school environment. They're now growing up in a world where they're just one of the kids, and they're learning more and more about the kids with disabilities and their disabilities and how they can help. And that's a richness which really provides, I know as a parent, I've been truly inspired by the kids at Muratai and how they have been with Max. They've been absolutely delightful, and this richness enhances lives and breeds acceptance. And now finally, but I just wanted to go into this political aspect. I want to finish to look at our leadership of our community, who holds all the power. Good leadership enables others to succeed. The fact that we are here today is a reflection, dare I say it, of the people that are leading education. when you open a newspaper or you see a billboard or a bus advertising a private school, you see that in the knowledge of the provision of the resources to the private schools is equal to the priority of the provision of an adaptive curriculum to children with the highest needs in community. When I open the Dominion Post and I see an ad for a private school, I sort of think, why is the government giving money to a private school and not funding the children with disabilities? That's a priority commitment, and I know Labour was very strong with that, and I know National brought it back straight away. But I cannot, as an educator, as a leader and a professional, accept that that's an authentic way of delivering policy. Some of our kids have more needs than others, and I'm a little bit tired of the cynical commentary and the lack of leadership and the emphasis around policymakers and politicians who operate at an untouchable difference to the reality of the trench that children, parents and teachers operate in. And every time NZEI mobilises, we're constantly saying that we're here because we have to stand up for our children, and we should be proud that we are here. And the policymakers should be asking, why are the parents of children with additional needs having to be here today?
Thank you, Andrew.